Hello everyone, Cindy here with Monarch Mom DIY. Thank you so much for joining me today on my channel where I love to bring you my best tips and tools to inspire you to create beautiful home decor on a budget. I'm very excited about today's video. Today I have 11 different lantern DIYs that I've made over, the past little bit, all combined into one video for you. It was really fun to revisit some of these lanterns that I haven't done these designs in a while. I really hope that you enjoy this video and that you are inspired to try your hand at creating at least one of these lantern DIY designs. So with all that being said, let's get crafting. For lantern number one, we are going to use 36 Jenga blocks to make this lantern and a little bit of nautical rope. Now, I am usually able to find Jenga games at thrift stores, but if you can't, you can definitely use tumbling tower blocks to make this version of a lantern. So I'm choosing, mainly because of the word Jenga stamped on each block, I am choosing to paint all 36 of my blocks white before I start gluing them together. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make 2 groups of 6. I'm gluing the 6 blocks together on the long sides until I have a base. So we're going to do this 2 times with groups of 6 blocks, making sure that they dry completely between gluing. Then I'm going to make 4 pairs of 2 blocks. I'm going to glue them end to end together like this. We're going to make 4 now, and then we're going to make 4 more in just a little bit. So these first 4 are going to be used to make our base a little bit bigger once they are dry. Taking 4 individual blocks, I'm going to glue them together in this square shape. You can see how I'm gluing on the sides there, so they're all connected, in this last piece on the side and the end to complete our square. This will be used on the top of our lantern. Here are my other 4 pairs that I am gluing together. These are going to make up part of the sides of our lantern. So 4 pieces with 2 blocks each, and we're gluing those end to end. So far I think we're up to about 32 of our blocks. Now coming back to our base of 6, I'm going to take 2 of those long pieces we made, like I said, and we're going to glue them on the long sides of that rectangle of 6 that's in the middle. This is going to make almost a square. It's still a little bit longer side to side, but that's okay. It's going to fit nicely. With 2 more of the sticks, we're going to connect them at the bottom with an individual block. And we're going to make 2 of these U shapes. Like I said, these are going to help make up the sides of our lanterns. So we have the 2 plates or bases that now have 10 blocks each. We have the 2 U's. Now to one of the U's, I'm going to take 2 more individual blocks, and I'm going to lay the U down flat on the table and glue these individual blocks to the corners there right at the bottom of the U shape. We're going to let this dry completely before we attach our other U right on top of that. Once that's dry, we're going to flip over the bottom of our U's here, put glue all on the bottom. We're going to center that on one of our bases. You can maybe see that I also sanded my pieces, distressed them a little bit. Once that's dry and secure, we'll put glue now on the ends of these 4 pieces sticking up. We'll flip it over and we'll glue the whole thing down to our other base. Pressing it, making sure we wait to make sure that it is dry before we try to move it. You can see I'm using the ruler to make sure my top and bottom base plates are secure and lined up. The last thing we're going to do is take that square that we made out of the 4 blocks, put glue on the bottom, and we're going to add this as a little decorative piece to the top of our lantern to kind of finish it off with the wood. Then just taking a piece of nautical rope, we're going to hot glue this to either side of that square of blocks to be the finishing touch for our lantern. What I love about lanterns is you can do so many things with them. You can, if you keep them painted fairly neutral, you can decorate like this one you can see is kind of decorated a little bit for Christmas, but you can change out the decor that's inside to go along with any season or holiday. Lantern number 2 today is going to be what I call a racetrack lantern. We're going to use this set of 2 racetrack pieces from Dollar Tree, some wood paint sticks here, and some plastic jewels, as well as a square sign from Dollar Tree, about 7 or 8 inches on each length. So here you can see I didn't really like the piece that was in the back of the sign, so I popped it out, and instead I'm going to use these 1-gallon paint stick pieces to be the base of my lantern. So I'm just cutting those to size, and then we're going to hot glue those across the bottom of the frame of the sign that I used. You know, actually I'm going to say this is probably closer to 6 inches, but whatever size base sign you want to use. Now these racetracks come 2 in a pack. They're 24 inches long. I am going to take my ruler and just mark where that center is at 12 inches, just so I have that as a measuring point. I'm going to take some of these clear plastic jewels and I'm going to add some dimension to my lantern by gluing some of these with E6000 and hot glue along the racetrack pieces. I'm also going to add 3 of these to each side of the base of our lantern. At this point, I am going to spray paint all the pieces white, just enough to give my racetrack pieces a good base coat. You can see that there are some little nooks and crannies that it's hard to cover with the spray paint. So I am going to go over the white spray paint with my white Waverly chalk paint on the front and back around all those little jewels. I also have this jar lid and this flat wood bead like doll head that I'm also going to paint with the white chalk paint. Now coming to the fronts of my racetracks, you can see I'm going to be able to get in those little cracks and anywhere that the spray paint wasn't able to get. I'm going to be able to get in there with my paintbrush, and this is also going to give us a nice matte finish for our racetrack pieces. We're also going to paint the inside and outside of our base for our lantern with the white chalk paint as well. Once our pieces are all dry, you can see I'm going to take some E6000 and hot glue, and we're going to glue one racetrack piece across diagonally from corner to corner. So I'm putting a good amount of E6000 glue where that racetrack is going to touch the frame, and we're also going to reinforce it with some more glue on the back. I'm not sure actually if I wait to put hot glue on there, but you can see you're going to want to glue this pretty securely, and then the other racetrack piece is going to go up and over the top. So I am also going to put a little bit of glue where those 2 racetrack pieces touch each other. Now, once you have everything glued and lined up how you want it, be sure to let this sit and dry to make sure everything is really secure. Now, from this point, you can just experiment with whatever colors you want. You could choose to just leave this completely white if you like. I'm going to speed this part up, but I'm going to use this teal paint and also some antique wax to decorate just the outside of my lantern. I am going to keep the inside white. The last thing I'm going to do is put some glue at the top here, and we're going to attach the topper that I made for the lantern out of the jar lid and the wood bead there, just a decorative touch to add to the top of our lantern. You'll want to use hot glue and E6000. Gives you a little bit of time to move things around. You can also reinforce those touch points with the hot glue. Now, this is such a pretty and versatile piece. You can throw a candle and some greenery in there. I've even used this with a nativity set at Christmas time. I'd love to know what colors you would paint yours if you made this lantern. Lantern number 3 is probably one of my favorite designs. We're going to use tumbling tower blocks and small wood beads to make this design. We're going to end up using about 104 tumbling tower blocks and about 96 beads. But the first thing we're going to do with our tumbling tower blocks is we're going to lay out 16 sets of 4. And you can see we're going to be gluing them end to end here. So I'm just kind of laying out all the blocks I'm going to need because we're going to be making some squares with these. So 16 sticks of 4 blocks is going to be 64 blocks. Once we have those laid out, we're just going to use our wood glue and line them up on our little level ruler here. Glue those end to end in sets of 4 and let those dry completely. Next, we're going to take 40 more blocks and we're going to make 4 sticks of 10. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to glue 5 pairs together like a sandwich cookie here. And then once those pairs are dry, we will glue those end to end. Okay, so you can kind of see how I'm laying them out. So we're going to use 10 blocks, like I said, for each of these sticks. These are going to be our corner pieces, our vertical pieces that give the lantern its height. And once all the pairs are dry, we'll then take those and glue all 5 of our pairs together to make our corner pieces for our lantern. Once those are all dry, I am going to take my little sander and just go lightly over them. The edges are not going to be completely even, but this will help even them up and remove any excess glue that may have seeped through as we were gluing them together. Then coming back to those 16 sticks of 4, we're going to do the same thing. Now, doing 4 at a time with the sticks of 4. These are not the doubled up ones that we glued first in pairs. These are just the single 4 blocks that are in a line. We're going to glue 4 of these sticks together in a square. You can see how I am lining them up here on the side and the bottom. Really, you just need to have some patience when you're working with these and the glue. We're going to glue our 16 sticks into 4 of these squares. While those are drying, I'm now coming back to my 4 columns that are going to give the height to our lantern, and I'm giving them a coat of white Waverly chalk paint. Once our squares are dry, we're going to do the same thing and give these a coat of white chalk paint as well on the top, the bottom, the inside, and the outside of each of our 4 squares. Once our paint is dry, I'm going to take some tacky glue and I'm going to go one side at a time. I'm going to run a bead of tacky glue down the edge. And I figured out that I can fit 3 of these beads in each of the tumbling tower blocks. So I'm going to put 3 in each tumbling tower block. So we're going to do 12 of these beads on each side. We're not going to go all the way to the top because that's where the other stick of 4 starts, if that makes sense. So kind of like how we made the square together. So we're going to put beads on the tacky glue, trying to get them right in the center of the tumbling tower blocks. And we're going to do this on all 4 sides of this square. And we'll do the same thing on a second square as well. That is our 96 beads. Now, once those have dried and are not going to move around, I'm going to take my tacky glue again. And this time I'm going to run a bead right down the center, right where the holes are on all of these beads. And then I'm going to take another square of tumbling tower blocks and line that up right on top of the beads. So we're kind of making a bead sandwich with 2 of the squares made out of the blocks. I love the look of this lantern. It's really not hard to do. It just does take some patience for the glue to dry. Now, with one of our sandwiches as the base, we're going to now wood glue our 4 columns that we made in each of the 4 corners of the base, and we will let those dry completely before we glue the other bead sandwich onto the top. And here's our finished lantern. I love the simplicity of it. I love the dark brown beads with the white frame. And this one is open at the bottom. You could place it on a base if you'd like, but I love this lantern. If you're stopping by my channel for the first time today, welcome. I'm so glad that you found me. I hope you'll consider sticking around by hitting that subscribe button. I hope everyone will check their notifications, tap that bell, make sure your notifications are set to all, so YouTube should let you know each time I go live here on my channel or upload a new video. For lantern number 4, we're going to use some tumbling tower blocks and make this really cool geometric tower block lantern. So we're also going to use some pieces of 5-gallon paint stick and some nautical rope. So the first thing we're going to do is take 6 blocks and we're going to make 12 rectangles that look like this. First, we're going to get all of our pairs together. Then I'm going to take some wood glue and I'm going to start gluing the pairs together that are the 2 individual blocks on the right and left. Rectangles. So that's the first thing I'm going to do is lay out and 12 of these rectangles. Once I have all those 24 pairs of blocks glued together and dried, I am going to sand them lightly just to get rid of any excess glue. Then taking 2 more of the blocks, like I said, we're going to glue them to the sides here of one individual block and then put the other individual block on the right hand side. We're going to use our 24 pairs and our 24 individual blocks to make 12 of these rectangles. And here's what our 12 rectangles look like. Now we're going to group them into 4 sets like this. We're going to take 2 individual blocks and we're going to glue that right to the center of that left top block and to the center of the right top block. I think you can see what I'm doing there. Then I'm going to take the middle rectangle and we're going to glue that to those individual blocks as well. Trying to get this lined up as straight as possible. I'm going to take 2 pieces of paint stick and just make sure my 2 rectangles are lined up. We're going to do that to all 4 sets, just the bottom and middle rectangles. Then once those are dry, we'll come back in, glue our 2 other individual blocks, and attach our top rectangle. So once we have these 4 sides of our lantern put together, we're going to glue them together. So I'm putting glue on the side of this one and laying it flat. And then I'm going to glue the next piece to it standing up. I'm going to take a 3rd piece and just kind of pinch it so that that glue is all lined up. And then once that's dry, we'll continue adding 1 more side of our lantern until we get them all together. Now for the base of my lantern, I'm going to take some pieces of 5-gallon paint stick. I just measured how long they would need to be to go across the bottom. I'm going to use 3 pieces, and these are just scraps that I had left over. And you can see there's not enough space there to do 4 solids, so I'm doing 3 with just a little bit of space in between. But using wood glue, I'm going to glue these across the bottom of our lantern. Now, you can decorate the inside of your lantern with whatever you'd like. I'm just going to use some of these greenery rings from Target and a battery-powered candle. To create a handle for this lantern, I'm going to take 3 lengths of nautical rope. I'm going to glue them together just a little bit at the end here. I tried taping them at first and they didn't want to stay together. So we're just going to glue those. Once they're secured, we will tape that down, and we're going to braid these 3 pieces just for something a little bit different with this lantern handle. Once we get it the length we want, I'm going to put some glue there and just kind of hold those pieces together so it doesn't unravel. I also decided to use some zip ties to keep the ends of the braids together and secured. So I'm going to put that around each end of the braid. And then once we trim off the excess, we're going to glue our handle diagonally across the opening of our lantern. And here's how the lantern turned out. I think it would be so fun to experiment with other geometric shapes on each side of the lantern. You can also, of course, paint your lantern. I would suggest painting the individual blocks if you're wanting to do that before you glue them together. For lantern number 5, we're going to make a house-shaped lantern using 2 of these house-shaped chalkboards from Dollar Tree, as well as some tumbling tower blocks. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to glue together 7 sets of 3. Here you can see I'm gluing the 3 blocks end to end. You're going to see different versions of this basic same method for each of these lanterns. So I hope from this video you are encouraged to experiment with a lantern design of your own. So here, using the level ruler as our straight edge, like I said, we're going to glue together 7 sets of 3. That's 21 of the tumbling tower blocks, getting them all nice and lined up. Once those 7 sets are done, I am going to do 2 more sets of 3 for a total of 9. So now we're up to 27 blocks. When each of those sticks are dry, I am going to use my sander and try to smooth out any unevenness and also where any glue might be. So now that our sticks are dry and held together securely, we're going to glue our sets of 3 together now, using those 7 across the bottom, and then I'll show you the slightly different way we're going to glue sticks 8 and 9 to the base. So here's our 7, and then I'm taking stick number 8. I'm putting glue on the face of it, and I'm gluing it to the side of our base, standing up. It's a little hard to see right here, but it is standing on its side, and so is this one, number 9, on the other side. So we're kind of like framing out that set of 7, trying to make it into a square as much as possible. And this will depend on the size of the frames that you use as well. Now, carefully as you can, if one piece breaks off, that's okay. We can wood glue the frame back together. We want to remove the chalkboards from our 2 house-shaped chalkboards. So get the chalkboard out, then just use a little bit of wood glue to glue your house shapes back together. Now I think you can see on the base how that left and right sides are a little bit higher. I'm going to take some wood glue now, and on the bottom of one of my house frames, I'm going to glue that to the side of my base. Not along the tall sides, but across the other side there, going from tall side to tall side, I guess is the only way I know to say it. So use the wood glue, use some patience, make sure it's held in place before you start moving it around. And then we're going to glue the other house shape to the other end of our base. Now the last thing we need for this lantern is 3 more sticks of 3 blocks. You can see I have those there. I have them already sanded, and I'm going to glue them across from house shape to house shape, one at each of the corners here, kind of the rectangular part before the peak starts angling in. So on one side, and then we'll flip it around and do on the other side. Then we'll do our third piece from peak of house to peak of house. And the last thing I did is I took this outside and I just spray painted the whole thing black. I love how simple and modern farmhouse this looks. And of course, you can put inside whatever you'd like. You can change this up for each season and holiday as well. Lantern number 6 is using some bamboo cutting boards and wood sticks from Dollar Tree, as well as some box lids and a few other items. This was just in last week's video, but it was the most popular DIY and it went with the theme for this video, so I thought I would go ahead and add it in. Now I am going to be using 2 of these box lids. I'm covering the laser cut design with 6 pieces of these medium size, I would say, craft sticks from Dollar Tree. So once I get all the pieces trimmed and cut, I will glue those across the top of each of my 2 box lids. Next, I'm going to take 2 of the bamboo cutting boards from Dollar Tree for each lantern, and I'm going to give them a coat of white Waverly chalk paint on the front, the back, and all of the side edges. We'll also give a coat of white paint to our box lids here that we covered with the craft sticks on the top and all the side edges as well. And we're going to paint 2 of these wooden rings with the white paint. Each of our lanterns is also going to need 4 of these long pieces of wood. These happen to be from Dollar Tree in the Crafter's Square. And just before you purchase them, make sure you try to get ones that are closest to the same length. We're going to paint these on all of the sides with the white paint. Don't worry about painting the ends. Now these little acorn topper feet are optional. These are from Hobby Lobby. These I'm just going to paint with white to add as feet to my lanterns. Now once everything is painted and dry, I am going to smooth them out a little bit with my little sander. I will use a higher grit on the 4 long pieces of wood that are going to be the height of our lantern, just to give them a little bit more of a distressed look. Then you can see here using wood glue, we're going to glue those 4 long pieces into the 4 corners of one of our bamboo cutting boards. And once those are dry, we'll put glue on the top of those 4 long pieces and line our other cutting board up on top. We'll make sure that is all the way dry, and then we're going to glue 4 of our little acorn feet here into the 4 corners of the bamboo cutting board. These will be, like I said, the feet for our lantern. Once that is completely dry, we can flip that over. And now using hot glue, I'm just going to go around the edges of that laser cut box that we covered with craft sticks. Once we get the glue on there, we're going to center this onto our top bamboo cutting board, holding it in place until we know it's secure. And then lastly, we're going to glue our little wood ring to the very top. If you love budget home decor DIY videos like this, please consider giving this video a thumbs up and leaving a comment or 2. That lets YouTube know people are enjoying my content, and they'll show it to more and more viewers. For lantern number 7, we're going to make what I'm calling Jenga pinwheels. And I have shown this one before. Again, I'm using Jenga blocks. You can use tumbling tower blocks if you would like. I like these because they have kind of a beachy type of theme. Now, for this video, I'm going to make 1 large and 2 small of these lanterns. For the large one, I'm going to use 28 blocks. And for each of the small ones, I'm going to use 16. Now, I'm going to go ahead and paint all of my blocks with truffle brown, mainly to cover up where it says the word Jenga on all of these, but you can paint them whatever colors you would like. So here's all of our blocks painted. Now you can see I have 7 blocks here that I'm kind of gluing together in an upside down U, I guess. So we're going to have 2 blocks on the side, 3 across the top, and 2 more on the other side. I'm going to call this an upside down U. And for our large lantern, you're going to need to make 4 of these. So you're going to need, those are your 28 blocks, 4 sets of 7 in this formation. You can see I'm gluing the pairs and trios together, and then once those are dry, we'll glue all those together. So here's what we're doing. We're taking 2 on the left, 3 across the top, and 2 on the right. And we're going to make 4 sets of that for our large pinwheel lantern. So here I'm showing you the 4 sets for the large lantern, and then up there at the left you can see 4 smaller ones using, these are for the large lantern, the 2, 3, and 2, and then for the small we're just 1 each on the left and right and 2 across the top. So here I'm going to show you now how we're going to glue our 4 C's together for our large lantern. Okay, we're going to glue them kind of in a square at the top. And what I'm going to do, you can see that piece that's coming in on the right. I'm going to glue that right in the middle of where these 2 Jenga blocks are. I think you can see that it's lined up there with the crack between those 2 blocks on the left. So we're going to glue this at the top and the bottom, coming in to the side of the other C of piece number 1. Now once that's dry and secure, oops, it wasn't quite dry yet, we're going to take the next C and put glue on the top and the bottom, and now we're going to glue it to the side of piece number 2. You can see there right where the crack is, we're going to glue that, and then once that's dry, we'll attach our 4th C to complete our square in the top and our pinwheel for our lantern. So there's our large one. Now I'm going to show you to make a smaller version. You need only 16 blocks. You're going to make 4 smaller C's like this with 1 block on the left and right and a pair or 2 across the top. So get your 4 C's all put together, and then once those are dry, I'll show you how you're going to glue them together into a pinwheel. So now because these are smaller and only have 1 block at the top or the bottom, you're just going to glue them like this into a little pinwheel because like I said, you don't have 2 blocks at the top, you only have 1. So you're going to line up the corners into a little pinwheel formation here at the top, and then it'll just be a smaller version of our large pinwheel lantern. Now that is the basic construction of these 2 sizes. I'm going to speed through the rest of this where I'm just distressing and I'm going to paint with different colors. I'm going to use mineral gray, I'm going to use white, but you can finish with paint and distressing however you'd like once you have the basic construction of your lanterns made. Now for the insides of my lanterns, I'm going to use some jars here, and I am going to take just a little bit of nautical rope and jute twine around the top edges of these jars just to add to the beach kind of decor theme for these. Feel free to use whatever glass vases or containers you'd like inside your lanterns. And here's what they look like with the jars and some rocks, some beach rocks, and some candles. Lantern number 8, we are going to use tumbling tower blocks and some cylinder vases to make some really fun and interesting tumbling tower block lanterns. We are going to take this glass cylinder vase from Dollar Tree. You can use whatever height you want. It is important though that the glass is cylinder, that it doesn't get narrower. You can see I'm taking 5 tumbling tower blocks and I'm kind of trying to space them out into a pentagon shape on their sides and trying to get them spaced as evenly as possible. Then the next thing you're going to do is putting 2 dots of wood glue. You're going to take another tumbling tower block close to the cylinder. If you don't get them too tight, you'll be able to slide your cylinder in and out. But we're basically going to build levels of 5 blocks connecting 2 blocks together. So again, with a couple dots of hot glue, these first 2 layers are the hardest because they're not fully in place yet, I guess. They're kind of still moving around. But once you get going, here's 2 levels. And we're just using 5 blocks on each level. I think I'm going to end up doing 12 levels to get all the way up to the top. But here you can just see I keep adding a little bit of wood glue and 5 more blocks until we build all the way up the side of the cylinder. And now that we've made it to the top, we're just going to glue our last set of 5 around the glass cylinder. You can see sometimes depending on the height of your cylinder, your last row might end up a little below the glass or above. Again, if you want to be able to move your glass cylinder in and out, you can keep your blocks a little bit looser going around the cylinder. I love this with the unfinished blocks. If you wanted to paint them, I would suggest you paint them before you try gluing them all together. I think it's going to be a lot easier to be able to paint the individual blocks before you try gluing them together. But like I said, I absolutely love how this looks with the unfinished painted tumbling tower blocks. And here are my 2 lanterns. You can see one of them, the cylinder vase, is just a little bit shorter. And I have tap lights in these. That's why they're so bright. But you could do votive candles. You could do the battery-powered pillar candles as well. For lantern number 9, we're going to use tumbling tower blocks and some hoops, as well as some bamboo skewers for this lantern design. This one is really fun as well. I hope you guys like it. So you can use any type of square sign, again, from Dollar Tree. This is one I already had painted and ended up not using. So I'm going to use this. I want to say it's probably about 8 inches square. And this gray side that I painted is going to be the base of our lantern. Now with our tumbling tower blocks, we're going to need 10 for each corner. We're going to make 4 sticks of 5 pairs like we did in an earlier project. So for each of these corner columns, we're going to glue together 5 pairs of tumbling tower blocks. I am using hot glue for this one just to make it quick, but if you really want this to be durable and last, you're going to want to use wood glue. So again, we're going to make 5 pairs of blocks, and then we will end up gluing those end to end to make our corner piece for each corner of our lantern. So these 5 pairs glued end to end is what we're going to make in each of our 4 corners to be the height of our lantern. Then we're going to make 4 sticks of 4 pairs. So 4 more sticks, but they're just going to be 1 block pair shorter. So again, using the hot glue, I'm going to glue together 4 pairs of the blocks like a little sandwich wafer cookie, and then we'll glue those end to end. So for the 4 sticks of 5 pairs, we used 40 blocks. For these 4 sticks of 4 pairs, we're going to use 32 blocks. And here you can see our 4 sticks of 4 pairs and our 4 sticks of 5 pairs. Now, usually I use my little hand sander to clean up any glue on these. I just happened to, when I did this video, had my little electric sander. So just smooth those out, get any glue off of there. In this video, I'm also going to use this super glue. Be careful, this stuff is so sticky. But I'm going to take now a combination of the super glue and hot glue. These are my sticks that are 5 pairs long, and I'm going to glue one of these into each corner of my box sign. So there they are. We're going to make sure those are dried completely before we glue anything else on. Now these are my 4 sticks of 4 pairs. I want these to kind of match the base of my lantern because these are going to be the top edge of my lantern. So I'm also going to paint these with that same mineral gray chalk paint. Then once those are dry, I'm going to take more of the super glue and hot glue, and I'm going to take 2 of my gray pieces here, and I'm going to glue them from one corner to the one straight across from it, and then our next piece is going to go across the other 2 columns. Once those are dry, we're going to turn our lantern, and we're going to take the other 2 gray pieces, and we're going to connect the other 2 sides of the square. Next, I'm going to take 8 bamboo skewers from Dollar Tree that I trimmed to fit corner to corner here. And we're going to hot glue these into our lantern. Now, they are not touching each other. One is going on the inside of the tumbling tower block columns. We're gluing it there. So this one is more on the inside of the lantern. And then the other diagonal is going to be towards the outside. So there's a little bit of space. They're not touching each other, but you can attach these however you like. I just thought this was a fun idea to give a little bit more of a decorative element to the lanterns using another item from Dollar Tree. For something different on this one too, I decided to take an embroidery hoop. They do have bamboo hoops at Dollar Tree sometimes as well. I'm going to cut this in half, making one piece slightly larger than the other. But you can see just attaching with some hot glue, I'm going to go from diagonal corner across, kind of like we did earlier with some rope. And it also kind of looks like our Racetrack lantern just a little bit, but instead of using Racetrack pieces, we're using wood embroidery hoops. So we're going to cross those in the center. I did put a little bit of glue right where they're going to cross in the middle. And for a finishing touch, we're just going to glue this wood bead to the top. I hope you guys are enjoying these lantern ideas. There's so many different ways you can make them with so many different products and things you can find at the Dollar Tree. Now I wanted a little bit more of a base inside here, so I'm taking 9 sets of 3 of the brown tumbling tower blocks, which seem to have made a comeback in the stores, the multicolored packs. And you can see I'm gluing them together in little squares in sets of 3. Then I'm going to glue the sets of 3 together, some going sideways, some going up and down, to make kind of a base plate to set inside this lantern. So here you can see we're going to set it inside, and we can also set this little glass plate on top of it just for some added protection if you are going to put a real candle inside. I did decide I wanted to add a little bit of nautical rope to this round glass candle plate. So I'm going to do one time around the inside and then one more time around kind of on top of that. For lanterns number 10, we're going to make this mini block lantern trio. This is kind of a mini version of the very first lantern we did in this video using Jenga blocks. Here you can see I'm taking 10 blocks. I'm doing 6 down the center and then 2 on each side. I am going to make, for each lantern, I need 2 of these rectangles, and I believe in this video I'm making 3 mini lanterns to make the trio. So here's kind of the pieces that you need to make 3 of these mini lanterns. You need, let's see, 60 blocks. You're making 6 of these sets of 10. 2 sticks of 2 on the left and right, and then 6 blocks in the middle, glued together in a long rectangle on the long sides. So there's one base of 10 and you're going to make 5 more. Next, we're going to make 12 sticks of 2 blocks. We need 4 of these sticks for each of our 3 lanterns. So we're just making pairs of blocks here, and then each of our lanterns also needs 1 of these small squares. This you will remember from lantern number 1 that we made with Jenga blocks. So we're just going to use 4 blocks to glue together into a mini square. Now we're going to come back to those sticks of 2 that we made 12 of, and we're going to connect 2 of those together with 2 more individual blocks to make these O's. So we are going to make 2 of these O's for each of our lanterns. So once we have all of our pieces, our top and bottom bases and our O's glued together and dried, we're going to go ahead and smooth those out with our little sander. I'm also choosing to paint everything black, but of course you can paint whatever color you'd like or leave your lanterns the natural wood color. You are also going to need to paint 6 individual blocks. Here you're going to see what I'm going to do with 2 of them. I have the O laying flat. I'm going to glue an individual block to each of the bottom corners, and then I'm going to go ahead and lay the other O, line it up, and glue that together. So each of your lanterns, you're going to need 1 creation like this with 2 O's glued together with 2 individual blocks. Once that is dry, we're going to put glue on the bottom of that, and we're going to attach it to a base. That was the 6 blocks down the middle and then 2 on each side. On the other base, we're going to take our little square that we made and we're going to glue that down to the center. And then once our base is dry, we're going to glue these 2 pieces together to complete each of our lanterns. And here's what the 3 of them look like next to each other. I did not add handles to these. You, of course, could do that. And for lantern number 11, we're going to revisit the arch windows and tumbling tower blocks lantern. If you can find these plastic window arch artwork, I guess they are, in your Dollar Trees, grab 4 of them up. I have also seen slightly smaller arched shaped picture frames. So if you can't find these, you could make this lantern a smaller version with the arch shaped picture frame. So we're going to remove the little sign from the front and any of the glue. We're going to paint these white. I'm going to do kind of a chippy finish with the paint. We're going to paint these white and get them ready to be glued together in a lantern. Now, by measuring my arch windows, I knew that I needed a base for this lantern. I'm going to need 11 sticks of 4 blocks. You can see here I've already glued the blocks or the sticks of 4 together, and they've dried. And now I'm gluing 11 of those together in this large rectangle. So it just depends on the measurements of the frames or signs that you're using. So take the time to lay out your blocks and know how many you need before you start gluing them all together. Then try to get as much of the excess glue with a baby wipe, and then once it's dry, you can sand it smooth. Next, if you so choose, you can paint your base for your lantern. I decided to paint mine black. So I am going to paint the top, the bottom, and all the edges with my Waverly chalk paint in the color ink. And I'm also going to paint this small piece of dowel that I measured to go from one side of my lantern to the other at the top as a sort of handle. Now we're going to glue our 4 sides of our lantern together like we've done a couple different times already in this video. Because this is plastic, I am using hot glue, so I'm just going to line one side up against the side that's flat on the table, and we'll keep doing this until we get all 4 pieces glued together. Then we're going to go ahead and put some glue on either end of our dowel and get that lined up going across our lantern from one arched window to the next. Then once our base is all dried, and you can see I distressed it a little bit with the sander, I'm going to put some hot glue around the base of our lantern and just line that up onto the little base that we made with the tumbling tower blocks. Thanks again so much for joining me today. Please let me know in the comments which of these lantern DIYs was your favorite, and we'll see you next time. Take care.